Hey, it's Dave. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what it felt like with prediabetes, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. And I'm going to tell you that I'm not a medical specialist, I'm not a doctor, so I don't have the blood tests that would specifically tell me when these cycles happen. I had to kind of think back of how it felt. I didn't do blood tests. I never got an A1C. I never got a C-peptide. So I don't know exact dates when any of this happened. I just had to think back of the experience that I had with prediabetes, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. So thinking back, prediabetes, it didn't feel any different. I didn't feel that. Now I knew that I was eating too much sugar. I knew that I was eating too many carbs. I was drinking too much beer. Like I knew that. I knew that prediabetes was probably happening, but I didn't have any blood tests or anything that indicated that specifically. Otherwise, I would have changed at that point. Diabetes, the reason why I think that I know the difference between prediabetes and diabetes is because diabetes started having like real effects on my body that I noticed to the point where even I mentioned to friends like, "Hey, what the heck do you think this is?" Like I started getting random tingling in my fingers. I started getting random tingling in my stomach, which was weird. I started getting random tingling in my feet, which is of course the neuropathy starting up. But one of the things that really was an indicator for me that I can think back that I'm pretty sure it was becoming diabetic is anytime that I had too much sugar. And usually the sugar would be I would stop at McDonald's and get a burger and a shake. Of course, I had to get the jumbo shake, and I would drink the whole thing. Or the thing that was a real indicator for me was Starbucks. If I went to Starbucks and I got a Frappuccino, I had physical things happen that I mentioned to people. I said, hey, that's weird. Whenever I drink coffee or Starbucks, this happens. And what it usually was that I had to go to the bathroom a lot. Or, it was just obviously it was my sugar spiking because there's 9,000 grams of sugar in Starbucks. It was just my sugar spiking, and my body reacting to it. Now, when I had prediabetes, drinking Starbucks or getting a shake at Five Guys or getting the shake at McDonald's, it didn't have major noticeable effects. It didn't affect me greatly. I just knew that I shouldn't be having all that. I think having diabetes is when I started noticing effects starting to happen. And then metabolic syndrome, now that I'm 20 years into this, now I have always neuropathy in my fingers and in my eyes, sometimes retinopathy. Like it always affects me. And now I'm starting to experience the difference between neuropathy and inflammation. Like I have neuropathy all the time. My fingers are always tingly and I don't have very good finger coordination. But if I eat too many apples or I have too many carbs, I get inflammation, which makes neuropathy even more difficult. And retinopathy, my eyes can clear up sometimes, and then if I eat wrong, my eyes quickly like my prescription changes, and I can't see well to the point where for a while I was working and doing a job that I had to be on a laptop quite often. If I ate the wrong things, I wouldn't be able to see the numbers on the laptop. It would be impossible for me to be able to work. So that was my experience between prediabetes, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. And again, I don't have any documentation of the glucose levels or any doctor's information. So this is all just what I know now and what I was thinking back to different times in my life and things that I had said or I had done. There was a point back maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago where I knew something was wrong and I knew it must have been sugar related. I used to drink a lot of coffee. I put a lot of sugar in coffee because I like coffee, but I like mostly sugar with my coffee. But at one point I knew that it was a problem because whenever I'd have coffee with all that sugar, it would cause me like weird things, like I would have to go to the bathroom 25 times when I was at work. So I started using Sweet and Low. That was an indicator that I thought, okay, well, that's weird that sugar's causing all that problem when I have it. And I knew enough to switch to Sweet and Low or a sweetener substitute, but I didn't realize at that point I should get my A1C checked, get my blood sugars checked. If I would have gotten diagnosed, I'm sure, with either prediabetes or diabetes, and I would have had the time to make the changes before getting to metabolic syndrome. And I say that because diabetes and prediabetes, you can change your diet, and within 90 days to 6 months, you can completely reverse you can completely reverse diabetes and prediabetes so that it isn't going to affect you, doesn't affect you, and you can change the outcome of your life. Once you get to metabolic syndrome, maybe it's reversible. I don't even know. Like, there's not a whole lot of documentation. Like, is neuropathy reversible? Some say no, some say yes. Is retinopathy reversible? Some say no, some say yes. But once you get to metabolic syndrome, there is no reversing it. It's just living with it from there on out. If you have any questions on this post, do me a favor, leave it below. If this is interesting to you at all, do me a favor and subscribe. I'm going to start adding weekly updates to my particular condition on probably Fridays. And then I'm going to be adding, weekly updates just throughout the week with just periodic ideas that I have or thoughts that I have. If I can help one person avoid anything that I've gone through at the end point that I'm at now, I feel like it would be worth it. Because again, prediabetes is, you can deal with that. You don't even really notice it. You may not even notice it. You just know that you shouldn't be eating or drinking all that sugar or all those carbs. Diabetes starts having a little bit of an effect on your life, but it doesn't make things impossible. I have to tell you that metabolic syndrome makes things impossible. Some days, depending on what I've eaten or the exercise that I've gotten, it makes things that I'm trying to accomplish throughout the day impossible. Some of those things, peeling eggs with diabetic, problems, metabolic problems, almost impossible though. Peeling eggs, trying to peel off an avocado, almost impossible. Very difficult. If you take a piece of fruit and you get those little stickers on the fruit, almost impossible to get those friggin' stickers off. You have to use a knife or you have to use something else. Mouse traps, hopefully you don't mind mice, because if you have metabolic syndrome and severe diabetes with neuropathy, you're not going to be setting mouse traps. It's almost impossible without snapping your fingers off, or maybe it'll take you 3 days to set a mouse trap. It's very difficult. So if I can help anybody avoid metabolic syndrome with some of the indications of prediabetes and diabetes that I've just laid out, I'm going to be happy that helps you. If this is of any interest to you at all, do me a favor, give me a like or subscribe to my channel. I'll be adding a lot more content on what my process is like and where I'm at specifically in my recovery from metabolic syndrome. And I appreciate you watching this. Thank you. Have a great day.